Secretary of State State Bellows has decided to remove a citizens' initiative from November's ballot that would have asked Mainers if they wanted to bar transgender athletes from competing in sports and using facilities that align with their gender identity. Bellows' decision comes after her staff found the group behind the petition, Protect Girls Sports, did not collect the required amount of valid signatures. According to the Secretary of State's office, any appeal of her decision must be submitted by the group in the next 10 days. Because of the possibility of an appeal, Bellows will announce the final wording of the referendum question on Thursday, should it appear on the ballot.